Hi boys and girls, this is Mr. Pedley again, and we're doing 4th grade Excel lesson 60. Today we're going to learn to recognize figures when they are similar or congruent, and also take a look at what can happen to shapes, and that would be things like flips, slides, or turns. So let's get started. Two figures that are similar have the same proportions but are not the same size. Each pair shows two similar figures. The symbol between each pair, that right there, means is similar to. So number one here, you can see that this rectangle is similar to that rectangle. What we're saying is that when we call shapes similar, that they are either shrunk down a little bit smaller or blown up a little bit bigger, but it's basically the exact same shape, just a different size. You can see if I drew a rectangle that looked like this, that would not be similar to this one. This does not look like the larger rectangle just shrunk down. Number two shows you this square and blown up to this other square. All squares are similar to all other squares because squares have 4 right angles and squares have 4 congruent sides. So it doesn't matter how big you draw the square, it's going to be similar to all other squares. Number 3 shows you this regular pentagon. We learned about that in a previous lesson. It's a pentagon that has, which is 5 sides, that has all the same length sides, congruent sides, and all congruent angles, the corners here. And then this regular pentagon would be similar to that because it looks exactly the same, only it's shrunk down a little bit smaller. Two figures are congruent that have angles and lengths of sides that are identical. Each pair of the two congruent figures, each pair shows two congruent figures here. The symbol shown between each pair, which is an equal sign and a similar sign mixed together, means is congruent to. And basically, congruent shapes are the exact same shape. It's not going to be shrunk down or enlarged or anything like that. So you can see this triangle is exactly the same as that triangle. So we would say that they're congruent to each other. Same thing here. This hexagon is congruent to this hexagon because they're the exact same size. And number 6, this parallelogram is congruent to this parallelogram here because they are identical. If a figure is moved to another position, the change is called a transformation. You can transform a figure with a flip, which is called a reflection, a slide, which is called a translation, or a turn, which is called a rotation. So we're going to look at some different transformations. The word transformation simply means change. And so we're changing the position of a shape in these examples here. A flip, reflection, occurs when a figure moves across a straight line in such a way that the new position is a mirror image of the first position. Each of these shows a flip. The new position is the same distance from the straight line as the original position. So notice that the gap in here is the same as the gap right here. So what we are noticing is that the old shape right here, this triangle, is flipped over to here. It's as if this dotted line is a mirror, and this triangle is looking in the mirror, and he's going to see that in the mirror, right? It's a mirror image. Same thing here for number 8. This flip or reflection, like a reflection in a mirror, if you look across this dotted line, it flipped perfectly over there. So this side right here is the same as that side right there. You see it just flipped right over. And then the point up here at the top becomes this point right up there that's now down at the bottom. Here's a parallelogram that has been flipped or is a reflection. And this shape here, you notice the point up there is now that point right there. It's a complete flip. A slide or a translation occurs when a figure moves without changing its appearance. Each of these shows a slide. Just think of a slide as a slide. So I take this regular octagon here and I just slide it right over to here. It didn't twist, it didn't turn, it didn't flip. It's just like taking it with your finger and just sliding it right over there. Same thing with this parallelogram, just slid right down over there. That's a slide or a translation. And then here, another slide or a translation. The square didn't flip, it didn't twist, it didn't turn, anything. A turn or a rotation occurs when a figure turns around a point. So the key here is the drawing is going to have a point there. Each of these shows a turn. So we start off with this triangle, and then it turns over here. And it's the exact same shape, it's congruent, but it just twisted around that one point. Same thing here, we have this square, and it just twisted over here, or did a turn. And then here we have the letter T, and it did a turn down to this spot right here. Indicate how each figure has moved by writing flip, slide, or turn. You can look back at the other examples that we gave you. I want you to write in each one of these blanks here either the word flip, the word slide, or the word turn. So pause the video, go ahead and do all the way down to number 21, and then turn it back on when you're ready to see the solutions. All right, so you should have already done these. This is a parallelogram, and it's showing it just sliding straight over to there without doing any twisting, turning, flipping. And so we'd write slide right there. All right, and then on this next one, same thing here. The arrow shows it just sliding across, so that's a slide. If you called that a flip, I can see how you would do that, but on a flip, you have to have a dotted line that goes down the middle that shows like where the mirror would be, because that could be a flip, but only with a dotted line right down the middle there. Okay, number 18 does have the dotted line, and this is just like one of the samples. We have a regular pentagon. This side is that side there, so you can see it didn't just slide over. It completely flipped. So you should have written flip for that one. And then this one has that point, and so it's a turn, because the shape is turning. And then here again we have the mirror drawn, so it's a reflection or a flip. And then here we have the turning point that the shape is turning on, and so that is called a turn. Now this is pretty easy to understand in the lesson. The hard part is remembering these three when it comes to doing your daily work or taking a test. So when you see these problems on your guided practice or your homework, don't just guess or use the check answer to figure it out, because you're not going to have a check answer on your test that you take. You need to really make sure that you understand and that it reminds you of which of the three it is and why it's that one of the three. Don't just pick an answer that makes the check answer add up. Make sure you're learning it as you go. And here are the answers to those last ones. That's the end of our lesson for today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.